Thus, in Pana, the laughter of children ceased with the setting sun. By the way, the ancient tree stumps, if referring to evil spirit and ghosts. Thank you.
The brain power you want is not in a bottle, capsule, or magic lamp. It's in your brain right now. It's about the size of a cashew. It's over 200 million years old. It's a brainwave.
Thank you. Story number 2. When you move into the Thailand refugee camp Pana, you and your family will be assigned a room. Those rooms are built like a motel, with each family assigned to a room, and it doesn't matter how many members are in your family. People who come to live in Pana don't stay for very long before they are either sent to the US, France, or Australia. During our time there, many people ended up dying, and we were assigned to a room where an old man had passed away previously. The residents of the building informed us that a funeral had been held in the room. They even warned us not to sleep by the wall where the body was placed during the funeral. The Pana refugee camp was split into 2 sections, the old and the new. There was a cemented road which runs through the 2 sides and was guarded by Thai officers. One cannot cross to the other side without some kind of special passes. My father often snuck out to the new side of the camp at night because his second wife was placed there. I remember one night I was on the verge of falling asleep when I heard the door creak open and saw what looked like my father entering. My mother was already asleep at the time. Then I heard my mother kicking and banging the bed with her leg. In the dark room, I could make out a shadow standing by my mother's side of the bed, so I called out, "Dad, Dad, Mom, Mom." Neither my father nor mother responded, but my mother was kicking, so I reached for the light by her pillow and turned it on. There, I saw a man with a deformed, rotted face dressed in a blue soccer jersey choking my mother. When I directed the light towards him, he turned his face away, revealing that it wasn't my father. Terrified, I began calling out to my mother. The figure released my mother and walked out of the door. My mother, still somewhat asleep, only fully woke up when I started calling and shaking her. Realizing she had been paralyzed by the entity, she got there to the graveyard. There were some older graves, but there was one that only had dirt and nothing growing on top of it. It was like a fresh new grave. Some of the older graves had things growing on top. We walked past the new grave and went all the way to where the stream formed a little pond, and we started catching fish using our shirts. While catching fish, I noticed that Beng's right ear was getting more and more red, so I asked him why his ear was like that, and he said he didn't know. We have a belief that when your ear is like that, it means your parents are angry at you or looking for you. We caught some fish, so we wanted to go back, but Tong didn't want to go back yet. We waited for Tong, and we kept telling him that we wanted to go back before it got dark. Finally, he said, if we wanted to go, then we should go, and he would come back later by himself. Bing and I decided to return, and as we got closer and closer to the graveyard, it felt like someone was watching us. We were scared, but I kept telling Bing not to run, just walk. We got back home safely, and my father noticed we were kind of dirty, and he knew we went out to catch fish. I was older, so my father didn't hit me, but he beat up Beng. It was true that my parents were arguing about us not being home after school. Maybe that's why Beng's ear was red. That night, Tong's father came over and asked where we went today because Tong came back scared and didn't make sense. We told them where we went and that when Beng and I wanted to come home, Tong didn't, so he stayed behind. After they did a shamanic ritual, the shaman had to go do a soul calling at the place where Tong had fallen. What happened was that after Tong caught some fish, he was coming back, and up ahead he saw a boy sitting on the fresh grave. Tong thought it was Beng. The boy on the grave was wearing a red shirt like Beng, so Tong thought it was Beng sitting there, and he went to ask what Beng was doing. But when the boy turned his head, Tong noticed the pale blue face of the boy. The boy's forehead was peeling. That boy wasn't Beng, it was something else. So Tong got scared and dropped his fish, running back to the camp. Tong stumbled and fell a few times before he was able to get back inside the refugee camp. According to my father, there was a little kid around Beng's age who had died recently in the camp and was just buried in that graveyard 4 days ago. Tong continued to get sick after that, even after the shamanic ritual, name change, and everything. In the camp, if you had some kind of sickness, they wouldn't allow you to come to America. So, their family was stuck in the camp. My family and I came to the US, and later we found out that Tong had died. Nowadays, we don't know where Tong's family went, but I think they might have come to the US too, because many of their relatives came to the US. That's all for this video. Thank you for making all the way through and supporting my stories. Have a wonderful day or night. I took my eyes off the deer, and I could see it walking away into the thickness of the forest. I tried to quietly follow the deer, but I couldn't tell exactly where it went. Maybe it was just behind some bushes. I continued to follow the deer and track where it was going. When I first saw the deer, it wasn't even that far away. Therefore, all I could think about was tracking it, shooting it, and taking the meat home with me. To make a long story short, I was tracking this deer for almost 2 hours into the forest. Every little clue that the deer was still around encouraged me to pursue it further. Then finally, I saw it. Not too far ahead of me was a white-tailed deer, the same one I had been tracking. I slowly got into position and took aim at it. However, the deer walked behind a big fallen tree and didn't come back out as I waited. I then slowly approached the big tree, keeping a distance from it. When I got to an area where I could see behind the fallen tree, there was no deer there. But I saw a man on the ground, as if he were sleeping. His face had this pale bluish look, and my heart sank. When I got closer to inspect the man, I realized that he was dead. He looked around 20 years old, but had probably been dead for a few days. I got out of there and power walked back to my car, which took me more than an hour. The old gray Silverado truck was probably his. I reported what I saw to the authorities. A few days later, I saw the story in the local newspaper. The young man was 24 years old, and it was his second year hunting. He had used his Samsung cell phone to record a few clips of him tracking a white-tailed deer that he saw on the side of the dirt road. Then he got lost. There was a clip of him saying that he felt like his blood sugar was low, and if he didn't find his way back to his truck, he would probably go to sleep and never wake up. Just reading his story sent chills all over me. He was probably chasing the same white-tailed deer that had occurred to me before. It was just a moment of déjà vu, I guess. At the same time, I thought I might have stumbled onto private property because of the stairs. Maybe there used to be a house there, and they tore it down or something, I thought. I climbed down and wandered away from that area. Before sunset, I gave up trying to track the deer and went back to my little old pickup truck. As I drove home, I kept feeling like this had happened before. I felt so strange ever since I climbed that staircase in the forest. I don't even know why there was a staircase in the forest. It's just so random. I drove from the mountain all the way down until I reached a 4-way stops. On my right, I saw a white Tacoma truck that was wrecked. It looked as if it had fallen off the road. It was all damaged and looked like it had just happened. Since no one was there and it was getting dark, I grabbed my little pistol, stopped my car, and got out to see if anyone needed help. I got to the white damaged truck, and no one was inside, but there was blood. The 2 front doors looked as though someone had cut them off and left them in the grass. It looked like they had been cut off. It's just me. It's just Daddy. My daughter continued to cover her eyes and cried loudly, so I handed her back to my wife. My 2-year-old daughter was scared to look at me. She recommended we consult a shaman. I agreed. We went to see a shaman, and he told my wife and me that after looking into it, he believed I shouldn't be driving that white pickup truck. If someone else drove it, it's okay. But if I kept driving it, I would eventually get into an accident and die. My wife and I believed the shaman, so we sold my white pickup truck to one of my hunting buddies. After that, we performed a shaman ritual for me and my family. I was advised not to go into the mountains that year. I don't know if I was just over-exaggerating. I always wonder if anything would have happened to me if I had gone hunting that day. Did the white truck I saw even exist? Was that white truck me? I don't know. I will never know. To know is to die, so I don't want to know. I wonder if I was in a different dimension for a short time when I climbed that staircase in the forest. I wonder if that staircase is still there. I haven't hunted in that place for a long time. Plus, I forgot where the staircase was anyway. So what do you guys think? Was it a wise choice not to go hunting that day? Or was I just over-exaggerating? Thank you all for spending your time listening to my story. That's all for this video. Thank you for making all the way through and supporting my stories. Have a wonderful day or night.
This incredible product dissolves oven grease and stubborn mold in seconds without any scrubbing. Take any dirty surface, spray over the grease or mold, and watch it literally melt away. Its patented NanoNet technology even penetrates dangerous black mold and stubborn baked-on grease. It leaves behind an invisible coat on any surface to eliminate future staining, making any surface look brand new without any painful scrubbing or dangerous toxic cleaners. It was invented by a prominent but frustrated chemist with a very simple, albeit first-world problem. His bathroom was disgusting, and he refused to spend hours cleaning it. Why are we still getting on our hands and knees to clean? So he put his chemistry skills to the test and invented an alternative. He named it Cleanlix, an innovative new cleaning system that can tackle even the tough